I think it's very difficult to tell the future for the travel experience. So the key for airlines is to be quite adaptive and to be able to implement new technologies quite quickly, and not to invest now in technologies that you perhaps may be stuck with for the next 10, 20 years, just because things change so rapidly nowadays. Well, if you look at history, you see that in the 60s travel was still very glamorous and it was a nice experience. And now that more and more people can afford to travel, airports get crowded, we have more security controls. So I think a real challenge is to make the experience on the ground a lot smoother. At KLM we're also working hard to try and do this. One of the initiatives we are doing is to implement a smarter boarding system, where we board the aircraft in a logical way. And we also allow passengers to wait for their turn using numbers, instead of having to queue up in the jet bridge. That's just one of the initiatives we take to try and smoothen the whole experience on the ground. Well, I think nowadays it's all about IT. It really permeates all the different aspects, from reservations, where it was, to entertainment, but also customer service, that we now do more and more via Facebook and Twitter. And at KLM now social media is really a big channel for interacting with customers. So I think it's really key to develop a strong position in IT. Well, that's also, I think, an area where new technology, new IT can help improve the passenger experience. We learned, for instance, when we had the ash cloud in Iceland, and when there was unprecedented grounding of flights, that we could use social media to interact with customers where other channels were no longer available. We couldn't handle all the telephone calls. For KLM, we literally got pizzas delivered to the headquarters, and many colleagues joined in to respond to questions and rebookings via Facebook and Twitter. It's just, I think, a great example of how you really learn to use new channels to interact with the customer in case of disruptions. That's a good question as well. I think, again, it's really a challenge to make the airport experience pleasant. Just because it's so big and so crowded, I think you can do a lot with new technologies. Another example perhaps would be biometrics, that can also take out some queues and some manual work to scan boarding passes and passports, and allow the passenger to move through the airport much more quickly.